Philip J. Pierre, Miss Fortuna Belrose, Mr. Suma, our special person of the day who we are honoring, Miss Alicia John, other invited guests, staff, teachers, students, everyone, the media, thank you, welcome. Every year, we celebrate Nobel Laureate Month by having an award of excellence, and this year, January 2020, we see fit to bestow the honor upon Miss Alicia John, an icon in our community. Without further ado, I'm pleased to begin today's proceedings. The theme for this year's Award of Excellence is Award of Excellence. Miss Alicia John inspires us to greatness. Miss John, every item we put on today is in honor of you and the way that you served St. Lucia with excellence. We have deigned to put on our performances and everything we do today with an air of excellence.
Honorable Philip J. Pierre, Senator Fortuna Belrose, Mr. Suma, and other distinguished friends of Miss John who have come to support and bestow their love on her, let me welcome you to our school, the Bishop Charles Gachet RC Primary School. Let me extend a very special welcome to you, Miss Alicia John, for gracing us with your presence. At this point, let us stand school so we can give to them the welcome clap on a count of 3. Stand, please. After 3, 2, 3. Thank you.
Everyone, sit back, relax, and be entertained as our students are ready to put on some performances for you. I'm sure that you will not forget.
Must come by.
Yeah.
Show me how to get down.
Okay.
Show me how to get down.
Okay.
Who are we?
Masha. We are marching in the light of God. We are marching in the Honorable Philip J. Pierre, Miss Fortuna Belrose, my friends, citizens, although I cannot see too many citizens of the community here. I think it's only one person so far, other than my friends. Students and teachers of the Bishop Charles Gachet RC Primary School, good morning.
Good morning.
And a Happy New Year to those I have not seen. Thank you. Now you have heard my name is Alicia John. I have lived in this area for 67 years. But before I came here, I lived in town, in the city of Castries. Something happened at one stage that caused me to move from Castries city to Marshall. Can anyone tell me a reason why someone would leave the city of Castries to come up to Marshall to live? Yes, I see you have your hand up. A fire, a fire. Very, very, very good. The fire. Yes, a fire, a fire, a fire. And everybody knows that there was a fire. But I'm not referring to the fire you saw just about 2 months ago, you know, at Voyager. There was a big fire in Castries in 1948. And that fire destroyed almost the entire town of Castries. All houses and business places were destroyed. The fire started, I'm sure you do not know the streets in Castries, but the fire started in a street called Victoria Street, in a tailor shop, corner of Victoria and Brogley Street. And that fire, children, that fire spread from that fire spread from Victoria Street to the harbor, to the wharf in Castries, right up to the Castries River, then to Bourbon Street. You'll not know Bourbon Street, but it is said that there was a bird that hovered around all the fire, and it rested on a building that belonged to beggars. And that is where the fire stopped. It did not spread again, but it went down around the square. Nothing happened to the square. Nothing happened to the cathedral. Nothing happened to the presbytery, St. Mary's College that was next to the presbytery, St. Joseph's Convent, that was where the Ave Maria Infant School is now. These buildings were not burnt, but on the opposite side, the fire raged. It went down to Jeremy Street, and almost the entire town of Castries was destroyed by fire. Now that fire did not chase me from Castries, you know, because I did not live in that part of Castries. There was no school for about 2 weeks because the people who lived in Castries had no place to live. Their houses were burnt, so they had to move into the schools. Children were not at school for 2 weeks because the school was used as housing for the people whose houses were burnt in that fire. Afterwards, the town of Castries was reorganized, new houses built. Do you know the houses they call the CDC? Yes. Well, those houses were built for those people whose houses were burnt in the 1948 fire. But 2 years later, there was another fire, another big fire in Upper Castries. And that is where I lived at the time, and my house got burnt. I did not know what to do. My mother and I sat on a step belonging to a man called Mr. Roderick Braffett. I think about just 2 or 3 persons there might know. We sat down there. Then somebody came and said, Miss Alicia, that is how they used to call me at the time. Because a while ago I just heard Honorable Philip here said, Miss Alicia, because that is how he knew me. Said, Miss Alicia, Miss Sonia sent me to look for you. Let us go. So my mother, the lady, and myself, we left and walked up. Do you know somebody called Miss Sonia? Yes, no, I'll tell you. We walked up the road, we came up Marshall, past the field, climbed up, and we went to a house at the top of the road, at the entrance of your school. That is where Miss Sonia lived. Her name, Miss Sonia George. Miss Sonia George was a principal of this school. She lived, her house was in the corner there, and she brought my mother and I to live with her family. We lived there for about 2 months, and then we found a place to rent in town. We stayed there for another 2 months and came up to Marshall. But once I was in my first stint of residence in Marshall at Miss Sonia's residence, I used to pass by the field. You know the field? Yes. What is the name of the field? Marshall Field? No. It was called at the time, yes, now it is Mindufili Park, but at the time it was called Victoria Park. Very good, very good. Give yourselves a clap for that. Yes, it was called Victoria Park. And on a Wednesday and a Sunday, I used to see men at the park playing a game. The men were dressed in white trousers, white shirts. They had a bat, they had ball, and they kept on running up and down. Do you know what game they were playing? Yes, they were playing cricket. And I stood there watching those men every Saturday afternoon, and on Sundays I used to watch the men play cricket. And you know what the men did? They invited me inside because there were only men inside and I was the only woman standing by the gate. They invited me inside, they gave me a seat, and they taught me the rules of the game. After a while, I knew how to score. And whilst the men played their cricket on the field, I used to sit in the pavilion and score for them. And they were delighted. They were so happy that they asked me to join the association. So I worked with the association for 8 years as the secretary. But after a while, I had to go to England to study, so I had to give up that position. Whilst I was in England, the West Indies was playing cricket in a place called Edgbaston in Birmingham. Very few people might know of Birmingham. So one day, there was a one-day international. I said, I have to go and see that game. Because I only used to see cricket on the field here, our men running up and down. So I went to Edgbaston in Birmingham. And there I watched that first one-day international, and that was when the West Indies won their first one-day international tournament. I was there at Edgbaston Park, and I enjoyed it. But there was something strange about that game. When I go on the field to watch cricket, by 5:30, 6 o'clock, I'd have to go home. But at Edgbaston, 6 o'clock, it was bright daylight. 7 o'clock, bright daylight. 8 o'clock, bright daylight. It's because England is in a different area. Whereas the sun sets early and it rises early and it sets early here, but in places like England, the sun rises in the summer, it rises early, and in the evening, it sets very, very late. So I enjoyed that part of my life. But when I came back to St. Lucia, I got involved in other things, other than cricket. I joined an organization called the St. John Ambulance Brigade. Have you heard of St. John Ambulance Brigade? What do you know about St. John Ambulance Brigade?
They teach first aid.
They do what?
They teach first aid.
Ah, very, very good. Give her a big clap for that, man. They teach first aid. Now, what is first aid? Somebody please stand up, yes, stand up.
First aid is the help that you give somebody in danger.
Yes, a help that you give somebody in danger. But what danger? What do you mean by danger?
Sickness.
Sickness, yes. Very good, very good, very good. Someone who has fallen sick suddenly, or someone who is injured, someone who gets burned, or someone who swallowed something and they're choking, or someone who is bleeding. Nowadays we hear about people bleeding. They shoot people and then they fall on the ground and people allow them to bleed and bleed and bleed until what happens to them? They die, they die. But someone who knows first aid knows how to stop the bleeding to prevent the person from dying. So that is the duty, the responsibility of the first aider, to prevent the condition from worsening and to promote recovery. So I joined that association. I learned how to do all those things. And not only did I learn to do those things, but I taught people those things. I became a tutor to the person who had to teach first aid. That happened for a long, long, long time. And as a result, I was given a very good reward, which I will show you later.
On behalf of the Marshall School, we would like to present you for two goodness. You can watch in front. You can watch. Come, let's walk up a bit before you will see. On behalf of the Marshall Combined and the Bishop Charles Gachet RC Private School, we'd like to present you with a small token of appreciation. Thank you.
And I thank you very much, staff and pupils of the Bishop Charles Gachet RC Primary School. Thanks again.
Thank you very much. I also like to bestow upon her a pin of appreciation for our community service to our community and St. Lucia at large.
Thank you.
Thank you. And as we continue with the program, we move on to words and movement. So get ready for some excitement. I would like to call on the students to stand so we can begin with the first presentation, The Joy of Reading.
From my stark white spacesuit to my wiggly until in the land of Manga, I shout out the joy of reading. Oh, what a joyous blessed day in Zion when I am able to read. Hanging over a cliff in my Lamborghini, tires spinning on gravel. As hope is just a rotation away, will I or will I not make it? I shout out the joy of reading. Oh, what a joyous blessed day in Zion when I am able to read. I lie on my bed, sweaty palms turning each page, reading fingers magically taking me away, away, on the ocean battling on holy deep. Salt water burning my skin, my eyes raw. I shout out the joy of reading. Oh, what a joyous blessed day in Zion when I am able to read. Singing the right west with the hootiness cowboy on the bread. As I saunter into the sunrise. Oh, what a joyous blessed day in Zion that I am able to read. Answers imagination. Reading inspires dreams. Reading lifts up the human condition. Reading makes make-believe as real as it seems. Oh, what a joy I get in reading as I travel the fish night. For me, it is a source of relief, as from each page I take off its one. Through feeding and cricket blazing, I can live ever want to be a life of other people with unfamiliar faces. I can remember my other people history. Pick your book, pick one up now. Then to yourself just make a vow to try your best to read and stick with it, so that one day your true destiny you will meet. So after Louis, born in St. Lucia in January 1915, he finished his school learning by the age of 14. At that age, he worked as a clerk in the civil service, where the British government imposed a racial ban on colonies. He didn't want to be a doctor or a lawyer. Eventually, his choice was to be a business administrator, to study at the London School of Economics. Can you imagine? There was no class for mathematics. He graduated with first-class honors in 1937 for a scholarship awarded among his fellow men. At age 33, he was made a full professor, teaching economics, you say? And how does it affect our lives today? Economics is how we produce and use goods and services, being aware of our spending practices. So after Louis Community College is a monument to him, to remind us of his work and commitment outstanding. Every day you have to work hard. That is how we call postcard. Pleasure that gas creator. Malu coffee cover. We mama, feeling great. Rebecca, Sumele, Jenny coffee the something then. Take a fantasy wrestling. Take a chance, stay in school. Eka call, golden new. Children's never before you super after you feeling too. Very joke, it's a baby. Party tell I put them in. Success, yes, you want to achieve. If you yourself, you can believe. Party tell you, watch it going, I let you go. Let you fast, I will be fat. Go better by waiting AM. Bring my mind, feeling good. Rebecca, Sumele, Jenny coffee the something then. Take a fantasy wrestling. Take a chance, stay in school. Eka call, golden new. Children's never before you super after you feeling too. Look big in music festival. Lani Mumpirel official, Body Amashali Abda, Unu Chebu Shoko Prima. Well, we finally want to say, thank you Lord for giving this day. Upani Tapu Male so early for this private state. Viva Hai, Vinikwe, Rebesa, Sumele, when it comes to nothing them, they talk about us against them. Take a chance, stay in school, and that one, go to room. Children should never put for you, super, according to feeling too. Go wait